All right, so now we're getting started. Hopefully everything's on the round, everything's good, and we can go ahead and start this day off. Sunday sermon. Good morning to you. And we're going to start off with another one from the series of Desperate or Determined, entitled In Search of a Healing, In Search of a Healing. And we look at this, we're looking at Mark 5, chapter 5, verses 25 through 34. Verses 25 through 34. This is In Search of a Healing. Remember, Jesus is all up and down and throughout these texts that we're bringing on here. Jesus is throughout what we're sharing here, and Jesus is the focus of what we're sharing here. Hope we're able to get this. Amen. Mark chapter 5, verse 25, it says, "And there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years, who had suffered under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports about Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, 'If I touch even his garments, I will be made well.' And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease." Amen. The other part of that text reads like this: "And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, 'Who touched my garments?' And the disciples said to him, 'You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, Who touched me?' And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease.'" Amen. How many of us understand that what Jesus was dealing with was more than remotely related to a human condition that needed other support, a human condition that needed other attention, a human condition that needed addressing from a different perspective? And Jesus, in all of his holiness, in verse 30, he feels power, right, removed or taken, gone from within him. He felt that someone had tapped in and gotten some of his power and said, hold up. Who touched me? You know what I mean? Who got this? Who was seeking this? Who absorbed that power from within me? That's beyond what this woman had with these physicians. Remember, go back to what it said. She had had this condition for 12 years. She'd had this condition for over a decade. This discharge of blood, that apparently the MRIs and the CAT scans and the x-rays and the specialists and the physical examinations and all this other stuff couldn't explain it, but she had been under, right? She had been under the care of these physicians, and she had spent all that she had, and she was no better. In fact, she was even worse, right? Someone understands that. The chemo's not working. The surgery's not working. The radiation hasn't taken effect like we thought it would. We know you came in here one way, but it doesn't appear to be getting any better. Sound familiar to somebody? Sound familiar to anyone? It will schedule you, but we don't expect much to come of it. We'll see you. We'll take you for a visit for an exam, but we don't expect much to come out of it. Am I sounding familiar? The healing is supposed to be part of what was to take place, but she couldn't find it with them. She couldn't find it with the money, right? And so she sought it in a manner that many of us have been taught to find healing. Go to the doctor, see what he says, get his opinion, get what he's got to offer. And then when that didn't work, and then the things got worse, she happened to hear about Jesus. He's in town. He's coming through. He's over there. She heard about Jesus, and when she heard about Jesus, what happened? She went out, got herself enough strength to be able to hang within the crowd, and she reached out from behind him and touched his garment. She had reasoned within herself, if I just touch his garment, if I can just get a touch, right? Get in there close enough and get a touch, I can be made well. It can happen for me. Look at that, look at that, look at that. It can happen for me. And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed from her disease. That's what we're looking for. But when we're desperate like that, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for an immediate cure. We're looking for an immediate solution. We're looking for it to work out for us expediently like that. And it happened in the instant for her. But here's the thing that brings it full circle. Jesus realizes that it's, hey, wait a minute. Somebody zapped me. Somebody got me. Somebody hit me up for some of my power. Who did that? And the disciples are none the wiser, saying, wait a minute, man, come on. Look, we're in this crowd. This crowd is so big. And how are you going to ask about who touched you in this big old crowd? And he keeps looking around. He doesn't even deal with them and respond to them. He says, hey, his eyes continue to search. And then this woman, understanding what had taken place, came with fear and trembling, and fell down before him. Talk about Jesus. Admitted what was taking place, admitted how the healing had occurred, and told the whole truth. And because of that, Jesus says to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed from your disease." It's one thing to get it, but it's another thing to get it by the authority of Jesus. It's one thing to be desperate enough to just get it, but it's another thing to be determined enough to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and admit what I did. Lord, I did it. I touched you. And when we're determined enough to stand on the truth, when we're determined enough to stand on the truth, that's when we can be healed by the authority of Jesus. It's one thing to get access to him and get close enough and touch him, but it's another thing to come before him, fall down on your face, admit the truth, and the authority of Jesus says, your faith has made you whole. Your faith has made you well. Your faith has healed you. Go and don't have to deal with it anymore. Go and be healed from this. Go and live free from this, because we've already dealt with it here. That's what Jesus did for this woman. That's what Jesus offered this woman. And as we continue on our journey, no matter how desperate we may be, no matter where we may be in this time, we don't know what may take over our lives and occupy our time and cause us to all of a sudden not be in the same place we once were like we are today. What if you are the parents of that special needs child that needs your continual care, ongoing care? What if that's what God has laid upon you? What if you are that child that has to step up and take care of aging parents while your siblings go on and continue with their careers and family, because not only do they not have the time, but they just don't have the heart for it? What if you're that child taking on that burden? Different things happen within life that we don't understand, that we may end up taking on based upon the shifting of time and circumstances. We don't sit up here and plan this. It occurs, and then we're trying to figure it out. What if? What if that is us? What's to say? Who's to say that's something negative? Who's to say spending that time with that relative is something negative? Who's to say being there and being a blessing to that other person is a detriment? But you don't know day to day what's going to change in your life. We don't know what was going on with this woman before those 12 years got started. But I would imagine she never even had an inkling that issue of blood was going to be the case. I would imagine that she was living her life up until that issue occurred, and then when it happened, it changed everything. We've got to understand that much of life is preparing us for some short-term events, right? Preparing us for some short-term events that will chip away and eat away at all of the character that we have within us. Take it and understand it for real. That's part of where we are in this big thing called life. If we're not careful, our our holiness is gonna come into question when we catch hell. I'll say it again. Our holiness is probably going to come into question when we catch hell because we've been going along so smoothly without trouble or trauma. And then all of a sudden, now that we've gotten a taste of, the devil's darts, and those fiery darts are aimed at us, and they're coming our way, and we don't understand that what we should have been doing was preparing for the day that it came upon us, but now here we are, and we're catching it, and as we catch it, we don't know how to deal with it, and we begin to see our own degree of holiness be chipped away, eaten away, broken down, torn apart, because we're catching hell. And we're catching hell without reliance upon Him. Right? This woman didn't have faith in Him during those 12 years. This woman had just heard reports about Jesus. And when she did, she went to Him seeking deliverance, seeking a healing. And when she got in the crowd, something told her, hey, look, if I just get close enough, He don't even need to lay eyes on me. If I get close enough, He doesn't even have to speak to me. If I just get close enough, He can do it for me. He's able. It's within His power. I just need a little bit of His power. I don't need all of it. I just need enough to get me through this. Lord help. What if we were satisfied with the sufficiency of enough? What if we could live off the sufficiency of just enough? But when we look back at what I said, and what I said is we're going to find ourselves in a situation where our holiness is going to break down based upon us catching hell. And that may be due to our health, that may be due to our family, that may be due to our suffering loss, whatever it is. God has prepared us in our hearts and minds for a day such as this, and if we're not ready, it's not His fault. We've read the Bible, right? We've gone to Sunday school. We've heard the sermons, but if we don't take it all in and we're not ready, that's on us, not Him. That's on us, not Him. And so when we look at this and we hear this, understand whatever you're in search of, He's able. He's able. Amen.